Don in London. Hello, it's February the 13th, 2013. Bit late this morning doing my video. Anyway, they're all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour before I go too far. Recovery from addiction, one day at a time. Into recovery, being sober. Into recovery, knowing it's contingent on what happens today. So, and if things are going good, beware. If things are going bad, beware. Things are a bit ugly, beware, because life can just throw us off balance. And how do I keep sober? Well, by being in the company of other people who know how to be sober. So there's a fellowship I go to, and also getting the right professional help to identify what the problem was and what the problems may be of a medical nature ongoing. So in recovery from addiction to alcohol, so recovering alcoholic, one day at a time. So what helps me most now I've found out a little bit more about how to be sober is the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, the very last place on the planet I thought I would ever end up, and the very last place I ever wanted to go, because I was drinking and I enjoyed it for a long time until it got me and I couldn't stop. And the reason why I couldn't stop is because I was broken and I sought oblivion from reality. So what is fellowship all about? A desire to be sober and help other people is one part of it, and the other is how. So these videos about how AA helps me keep sober. And I don't speak for AA, because if you go to AA, you know you speak for yourself where you choose. And if you're new to AA or thinking about going, this is a bit of information, how it works for me today. And if you do become part of AA, I can't speak for you either, because fellowship, it is about one thing: speaking for oneself and finding your freedom again, learning how to live life and get your choices back just for today. So 13th of February 2013, 13:37 in the afternoon. I've been busy watching something on Netflix overnight, so that put me back a bit, and then several uploads or downloads occurred, and I thought, well, I'll try some software which I haven't used for a while, and guess what? Everything stopped working. And patience is something I learn in recovery, so if this comes out at all reasonably, I'm publishing it. I share here what happens to me on a daily basis and what I'm reflecting on. So it's a daily reflection. But I also share the AA preamble you will hear at the beginning of any meeting of the fellowship. And the reason I share it is because it's important to me to remind myself about it. So this is the AA preamble, shared at every meeting. Beginning of: Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. And for me, it's recovery one day at a time. The only requirement for membership, this is you or me, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. So remember, a desire to stop drinking, and it's something you don't have to pay for, but we do put a few pennies in each to cover the rent, tea, coffee, biscuits and other stuff. But you only put money in if you've got it to spare. AA is not, this is what it's not, but we are as people, individuals. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. But as individuals we have the freedom to be allied with anything, any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. And you might want to engage in controversy, and you might endorse or oppose causes, because that's your choice. So fellowship is for one thing. The primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety, just to be sober today. And my feelings today, my thoughts, feelings my emotional and spiritual experience of now. House of Cards. It was on Netflix, and I'd noticed it was there, but then I had a reminder from my mum yesterday, who watched the original UK version. She said there's a new version of House of Cards with Kevin Spacey, so I watched it, the whole darn thing. So House of Cards was on my mind, and common welfare, common ground, and your personal spiritual beliefs. These two things are connected for a reason. Alcoholics Anonymous is about inclusion. If you say you are in the fellowship. Nobody can boot you out. So you can have all your personal beliefs and no one's going to boot you out for them, and you don't have to adopt anybody else's. One primary purpose is to stay sober and help others. That's it, one primary purpose, to stay sober and help others. With step 2, coming to believe in a higher power will always be a personal matter. And why is that important? Well, I hope it unravels in the next few minutes. Our spiritual beliefs will always be personal beliefs. I have a belief myself. Spiritual living is the ability to cope with reality, the reality of now. My own personal spiritual compass is based on, this is me, not the fellowship, is based on truth, how to love people, how to be loved back by people, and develop this wisdom from moment to moment. So I'm learning the truth of now, love and wisdom of now, and coping with life. So, truth, love and wisdom helping me cope with reality in the moment of now. And what is my higher power? Well, truth, love and wisdom shared in the moment of now, through people, places and things. Books even. So, strength and unity, this is fellowship. Understanding and helping each other live the truth, love and wisdom of now, which makes it easy as a person who still finds it difficult to believe in other people's notion of God. Gandhi suggested God is truth and God is love, and this manifests in what we do together by sharing experience, strength and hope, inside and outside fellowship, through actions are not just impressions that something will happen just because it will happen. We have to work life. The spiritual life of now is always going to be a work in progress. So living in the moment of now and coping with it. And if you can't cope, like I did, I couldn't cope on my own, but I was a stubborn, defiant sod, and I found it very difficult. Anyway, I was watching the brand new series of House of Cards, and one of the principal characters in the story is an alcoholic. And the alcoholic in the story is having trouble with a higher power. And the alcoholic in the story is finding it difficult to understand what on earth the 12 steps are about. They do have a sponsor, which often we do have in fellowship, a sponsor to help us understand what the 12-step principles are, how to live life in an open, honest way, and cope with it. So they do have a sponsor in the story, and the sponsor suggests that we come to believe in a power greater than ourselves. This is step 2. Came to believe we are restored to sanity with the help of higher power. I won't say what happens in the series, because I need not spoil the story for anyone. What it reminds me of, however, and this is part of my daily reminder, that each of us needs to develop our own understanding that we are not God, and we are not infallible. So even though we may have a lot of wisdom, it doesn't mean we always know what the right thing to do is. And if we were omnipotent in the first place, we would not be alcoholics with a killer malady. Indeed we wouldn't, if our thinking brains and our intelligence were able to understand that drinking is not good if it leads to addiction for some of us. Then we wouldn't do it, would we? But does it need to be any more than that? Yeah. We are not fallible. And if we were omnipotent in the first place, we would not be alcoholics with a killer malady. Sorry, I lost my place. Does it need to be any more than that? I do believe it's up to the individual what they believe in. So what I believe in is me. No, what I believe in is my personal choice. What you believe in is your personal choice. And not forgetting we have common welfare and common ground around how to be sober. All I know is I'm very happy to have people in my life who have superior knowledge and experience, sharing as they do in meetings of a fellowship and in my family and in my community, and professionals like doctors for physical, counsellors for mental, dentists for teeth, orthopods for bones, diabetes specialists for type 1 diabetes. You name it, there are people out there with superior knowledge about the components which make up me. Anyway, in my videos in January, all about step 1 and powerless over alcohol, and if I drink, life will get unmanageable. That's what it was about, January, step 1. And part of step 1 is recognizing that all I need to do today is be sober. And then with step 2, all covered in February, step 2 came to believe that a power greater than me would restore me to sanity was a big ask, because the word God seemed to be shared quite a lot. And with all the people in the meetings, although they talked about God, there was not much common ground about what God represents, what God is, and if anyone got into a debate about it, it all went to pieces. So this word God is what you come to believe, or a higher power which you understand. So for me it's truth, love and wisdom coming my way from all over the place. So the God bit has no consensus in terms of definition, and this is quite right, because 7 billion people on the planet will not agree about God. Apart from one obvious fact, no single person is God on the planet, and it is unlikely that there will be a definition of God which we will all believe in today. So I am happy that I am not God, and you are not God. At the same time, the collective conscience to the good of life is shared as best we can across this globe, one day at a time, and it's become more improved. The more improved version is flying around across the internet, across social networks, in a bigger way than it ever has done before, and it's faster and more immediate, which fits in with God is now and is ever present. So, in other words, listen to the people who share experience, strength and hope of their recovery. Listen to the many voices of recovery and follow the path of sobriety as you develop it today. If you are agreeable, this is you and me, if you are agreeable to the notion that you could not stop drinking on your own, and no matter what you do, you don't seem able to stop once you start, it is a pretty mad situation. Insanity of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result by drinking, drugging or addictive behaviour. It is truly mad. And the madness turns into blame. Either we blame you blame me, or we blame the world's against me, or we blame ourselves. And the madness turns into isolation and covering up, because we don't want people to know, and we'll rush around trying to hide our relapses as best we can. But of course, people know. And the madness is that although we may feel completely out of control, our thinking is so disruptive that we quell our madness with the addiction. So if we have got stuck in this madness, and it has happened for thousands of years to many millions, I guess, most of society will write us off and throw us on the scrap heap, disown us, and be despairing of our behaviour. And worse, usually those of us who have been trapped by the addiction, we write ourselves off, hide away from life and the people who might still love us, and then we die, sometimes quickly, and worse, sometimes slowly, and it is desolate. Every day we are faced with the conundrum of what to do and what is happening. This is just normal. Sometimes life remains busy and we are confronted with so many different pressures and stresses that we don't know how to cope. And the immediate solution for the alcoholic who is still active is always in a bottle when it gets too rough and unmanageable. Fellowship, it empowers freedom of choice again, personal freedom of choice again. I can choose if I stop myself sooner rather than later. With a desire to stop drinking and a desire to help others, we start to develop a new outlook and start doing things which keep us sober today. like going to meetings, learning about the 12 steps, which can only be put into practice if you know about them, and they only mean something if you're living real life. So you can learn the theory, it's always going to be practice. And it's not perfect. And if we are able, we understand that life is lived in the moment, and no matter what happens, most of the time we can cope. And if we cannot cope, we can ask for help today. So that word humility, not false pride or ego. If someone says, I've got the humility to keep on learning, it's better to say, I'm just keeping on learning. You know, humility is levelness with the world and what's going on in it. Sanity is contingent on the day I ask. Today has been interesting so far. Overnight, watching the entire series of House of Cards, the American version with Kevin Spacey and some gorgeous actresses. With all the machinations, or machinations if you're American, about power, money and corruption and blind ambition, I really enjoyed it. It reminded me of the old life. I was never in politics, but I was in business. And a particular incident in one of the episodes reminded me of my life and the torments I faced in a past career. Powerful and evocative of how I could not cope with myself. And yet I could cope with the outside world until, well, we won't go into that. House of Cards, anyway. It was a salutary reminder of past times and a breakdown that I thought could not happen to me because I knew better. And the problem is, even though we know better, emotionally and spiritually, our feelings in the moment of now say, let's drink and we'll wake up tomorrow and we'll start again. And what do? Well, in my case, I kept on drinking because I knew better. Of course, if we burn out and don't realise it, like I did, we keep on going on fumes until the breaking point, burnt out. The only reason I did not give up completely is the impact it would have had on my mother and family. I thought what a rotten thing it would be if she outlived me. Not from my point of view, from her point of view. There was no other reason to live. Today is completely different though. Sober, one day at a time. The spiritual principles of truth, love and wisdom work for me. Yep, the truth, love and wisdom which is available around me every day. And it is contingent on me asking for help. One day at a time. So what is Alcoholics Anonymous doing for me? It's helping me understand emotional and spiritual, knowing my feelings in the moment of now, and the steps help me cope with what's going on in the moment of now. And if I can't cope, which is not unusual, or rather it's not about coping on my own, it's about sharing what's going on. So sometimes people will say, do you want some advice? And I say, yes please. And then other people will offer me advice which I don't particularly feel is useful to me. And I say thank you for it. But if they persist and suggest, or rather intend I should, oh, I don't know what happened then. I hope things are alright. It just flickered. I hope there is enough of this left for you to understand what's going on. AA, emotional and spiritual, in the moment of now. So, noise is off, dog barking, poor old Wobble downstairs gets into a fit when somebody rings the doorbell, and then the owner gets into a fit as well. And I've had a difficult day with things going wrong with the computer. But overall, just for today, and news from a friend of mine from a long time ago. Anyway, things are going awkward again. I keep saying not responding, so this may be a bit shorter than I thought. The Serenity Prayer, if this has worked, I hope it has. To God or in good conscience today, Serenity Prayer to a higher power, that is, the truth, love and wisdom of the universe. Dear higher power, remind me to ask for help. But serenity comes from experiencing another insane episode of life happening. so we don't remain in a constant state of spiritual wellness. Spiritual wellness is coping with the good, the bad and the ugly of life. So if that's the only bit that shows on this video, all well and good. I've had enough of trying to cope with machinery which is not behaving to God or to the good of life, coping with it and asking when I can't. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom to know the difference in the moment, minute, hour, just for today.